Hey everybody, it's the Poor Sports Seattle podcast. This is Casey McLean, and we're going to talk about the Seahawks loss to the 49ers, how we feel, how I feel. It would be a two-way conversation, but this isn't recorded live today, so this is how I feel about the Seahawks after their loss to the San Francisco 49ers. All right, folks. Disappointing. It's disappointing after an off season of anticipation, and I think this happens to every fan base, and half of them end up disappointed. Hope springs eternal when you're 0-0, and when you play that first game, it starts to reveal some warts. It reveals some problems. We'll go over a couple things very quick, quarter to quarter. I have some notes written down. It was encouraging to me to see Jalen Milroe in on the third play of the game. Strategically, I thought it made a lot of sense to do that early because then you get that in the 49ers' mind. You keep them honest, as they say. To never go back to it, he plays one snap. The whole game did not make a lot of sense to me. If you're going to play him for one snap, I don't think you should have two or three quarterbacks active on your roster. I don't think holding two spots for guys who are not going to play is worth it. So if the Seahawks are going to use him this sparingly, I think you got to leave him off of the day. Make him your emergency third quarterback then, because it's not worth it. It's not worth the roster spot if he's going to play one snap. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe I haven't spent a lot of time looking into what might have caused it. Maybe he was a little bit injured. And Nick Emenwari goes down pretty early in the game also, which was disappointing. I haven't seen any updates on that, but the way that looked didn't look super promising. Didn't look career or even maybe season threatening, but did look like potentially something that may cause him to miss a couple games. High ankle sprain is the speculation that I saw online. So hopefully it's not that, but that was the speculation that I saw. It was certainly different it was a different look to see the Seahawks playing with a fullback. And then San Francisco goes down. They absolutely dominate the Seahawks on their first drive. I want to say it was like 14 plays and 8+ minutes or something like that. And I will say, in that moment, I felt like the Seahawks were going to lose that game by double digits. I thought it wasn't going to be particularly close, to be honest with you. It looked like the defense had not really made any steps forward at that point. And, the 49ers were able to just absolutely dominate the Seahawks. And then between the first 49ers drive and their last real drive, not the one, taking a knee after they caused Sam Darnold to fumble at the end of the game, but the game-winning drive, if you take those two drives out, the Seahawks defense played pretty well. I actually don't have the numbers for what it would be like. Let's see what did Purdy do on that first drive? Because that was just a demoralizing drive. I think we can anyone watching that could not be super thrilled about the way that went. So yeah, that first drive they go 14 plays, 95 yards. At least a good chunk of them are pass plays. When I did if you take out the first, or if you take out the final drive, Brock Purdy's day does not look particularly impressive. And I suspect if you take this one out, of course, these are both part of it, right? It's lucky for the 49ers that they were able to extend the game long enough to have this late drive. Because if they hadn't, they lose, and Brock Purdy doesn't look very good. But that's not how football works. You play all 60 minutes for a reason, and the Seahawks defense has to be good for 60 full minutes. And one guy is taking a lot of the blame. And honestly, I think it's warranted. I typically would be someone who would not want to pile on one player, but it's hard not to blame Riq Woolen for the results of that game. On that final drive, he gets beat by Ricky Pearsall. I will say Pearsall looked pretty savvy there. The way that he deked Woolen into going up for the ball early or into slowing down for the ball early. And then he did get, I will say, I would have been, If I was a Seahawks fan and this got called against the Seahawks wide receiver, I'd be pissed. But there was a little bit of a push-off. Again, savvy push-off. And then, obviously, Pearsall makes the big play. And then the final play of the drive, the touchdown, is a ball that, honestly, like, out of Brock Purdy's hand, I thought that ball was intercepted. I thought that Riq Woolen was going to make a play on that ball and intercept it, and it ends up being a touchdown catch by the 49ers backup tight end, whose name is escaping me, that looked like Riq Woolen could have knocked it out of his hands or played it a little more upfield and been just significant. It would have been not a particularly difficult cornerback play. I say this about a guy who is 6'4" and runs a 4.35 or whatever. I'm not saying I could have made that play, folks. Let's not misconstrue this, but it was a very disappointing game from Riq Woolen, and even one. I mean, he made a play earlier in the game, but the other play that he made was where he barely gets to a ball in the end zone, and Greg Olsen made the comment that he thought that it was a touchdown out of Brock Purdy's hands, and Riq Woolen gets there the very last second, gets a fingertip on it. Frankly, he got beat on that play. He's got elite athleticism. He's got elite traits that allow him to make up for mistakes. But the mistakes have turned out to be, in that game, in most of the 2024 season, too costly. Too costly for a team that's going to be a playoff team. That was not a good showing. I think that people are already writing off the idea that the Seahawks may have considered extending Riq Woolen. I would be shocked if he's a starter the rest of the season. I'd be shocked. I'd be kind of shocked, frankly, if he's the starter in week 2. I thought he played that bad and in that critical of moments. And I think, like, there's other guys on that roster at the cornerback position who buy into what the Seahawks want out of cornerbacks. And I think Riq Woolen is arguably, he's as physically gifted as any cornerback that's ever played the game, frankly. Like, the upside is so high. But the performance has been bad. For now, we're going on the majority of the last 2 seasons so far. I mean, he was just getting worked. I will say, so there's a lot of conversation about the run game. I did a predictions episode, and I said that I thought that Ken Walker would outrush Zach Charbonnet. It doesn't look good at this point. Charbonnet looked significantly more productive, but also the Seahawks abandoned the run. After limited success, they abandoned the run, and that's kind of that was the beef with, I will say, that game in particular. Were it not for the 2 Seahawks interceptions, which, again, you have to play the game, the interceptions are part of it, but the 49ers were significantly better than the Seahawks on offense. Like, you couldn't have had a lot of faith in the offense, any facet of the offense. The only thing that was really working consistently, Zach Charbonnet was running the ball pretty well and passing to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Amazingly, by the way, Cooper Kupp actually had more snaps on the field than Jackson Smith and Jigba did, but JSN had 13 targets. Cooper Kupp had 3 targets. Critical drop, tough catch that he would have had to make. Elijah Arroyo gets 1 target. Kenneth Walker 3 targets. AJ Barner 2 targets. Those last 3, by the way, those combined 6 targets add up to 11 yards. So outside of JSN, there were only 26 yards passing. So I actually kind of, I think that the Seahawks might have properly diagnosed that they were in a tough spot offensively, and they needed to make a play more than maybe the score indicated because they were not moving the ball. The new offensive line, inconclusive, I think. Did not, until the final play of the game, no sacks. And not a lot of pressure, not a lot of quarterback hits early in the game. At one point, I remember, yes, there was only 2 quarterback hits all game. Although, because Bosa gets the sack, so 2 quarterback hits, the 1 sack. I thought that the Sam Darnold was doing a good job of getting the ball out quickly, which is something that has not really been a Seahawks specialty in the last several years. That's a complaint about Russell Wilson. It was a complaint about Geno Smith. I thought he was getting the ball out quickly. And some of the, he made a throw he made a couple throws to JSN that were pretty good throws that didn't end up being catches. Probably a little late on the one. I can't remember what the circumstance was, but they were it was Upton Stout is underneath, and then whoever the safety was over the top, and he just was like a beat late throwing it to the sideline. And then there was the play that he actually, by the way, I thought this was just an incredible play all the way around. It's 2nd and 18. He throws the ball to Jackson Smith-Njigba. It's perfectly placed, kind of back shoulder timing, like a throw the guy open kind of throw. Jackson Smith-Njigba makes a perfect play on the ball, frankly, uses his body to shield the receiver or shield the cornerback, makes a great catch, and then as he goes to the ground, the ball gets knocked out. I can't remember which 49ers defender it was, but a great play. I mean, a great pass, great catch, and an amazing play by the defender. An even better play by the defender. Oh, I should have switched this slide over. I do have trying to do these slides to give you a little something to look at besides my stupid face. And I have the Riq Woolen, Ricky Pearsall 45-yard pass as the sole slide for this episode of the podcast. I guess that's a comedian thing, maybe. How I'm just immediately go to the morbid. And that's, in football terms, that would be the most morbid possible backdrop, I think. I will say I was very impressed with the Seahawks defense. They got decent pressure all day. I thought Brock Purdy looked uncomfortable a lot of the day. He throws 2 interceptions, and none of these are cheap, bad bounce interceptions. These are legit, it felt like the pressure caused them. So no complaints. They're really they give up 17 points, but like I said, outside of the last drive and the first drive, Brock Purdy was pretty pedestrian. Christian McCaffrey runs the ball 22 times for 69 yards. Brian Robinson 9 times for 33 yards. Purdy runs a handful of times, but they stopped the running game. The big thing they talked about in the early days of Mike McDonald in Seattle are building a run wall. They did a good job of controlling the run. Despite San Francisco running the ball 36 times, they averaged only 3.3 yards a carry. Unfortunately, the Seahawks also were not able to run the ball well. These are 2 teams that are constructed very similarly. They obviously come from the same offensive tree, with Clint Kubiak having coached in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan and coming from that traditional West Coast offense. And they both have these pretty innovative defensive minds. The Seahawks, it's their head coach Mike McDonald. In San Francisco, it's Robert Saleh is back, but very similarly constructed teams. I think probably attempting to construct their rosters very similarly and with very similar box scores. It didn't feel like the 49ers are an elite team, and it does. I will say, I said in my prediction show that I thought the Seahawks would win 11 games this year, but if I was picking the 11, this would have been one of the 11. To me, this feels very reminiscent of the game the Seahawks lost against the Giants last year, where this game was, for all intents and purposes, in their control to win. And Sam Darnold had a chance to start a legacy. I remember thinking that, and they brought it up on the broadcast, how many comebacks he had last year, and it was, I'm not a I'm not like a Sam Darnold truther. I don't think there's many of them out there that like love Sam Darnold and think Sam Darnold is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, but I did think he had a chance to really like start his Seahawks legacy off on a great foot. It just didn't happen, unfortunately. And that's a tough play. I mean, Nick Bosa, one of the best pass rushers in the history of football, just bull rushes your tackle into you. It's tough. And he still almost gets the pass off. And yeah, the Seahawks had 2 fumbles, the 49ers had 2 interceptions. Neutral turnover battle, very closely matched teams, very similarly built teams with played a very close game. Not entirely surprising. Beyond that, I don't know what the I will say, like I've seen some kind of hand wringing over the decision to kick a field goal with 3 minutes and 28 seconds left. The Ben Baldwin decision bot did not scrape the data for that specific decision. I did look at the ESPN decision thing, as opposed to, you can go to, there's like decision calculators and all that stuff available. I didn't look up one of those. I just looked up the ESPN one, and it was like roughly neutral. I was somewhat ambivalent at the moment. My preference would have been to go for it. My very slight preference would have been to go for it because I didn't want the 49ers to get the ball back. But overall contribution to win probability, essentially neutral. Plus, it was going for it was a plus 0.2 points, expected points. Win probability percentage gained. So virtually nothing, not expected points, virtually nothing in gain. And that's, by the way, with it, 0. If you think you know better than the coaches to be able to split hairs between 0.2% win probability, you're crazy. If you don't think that that's within the margin of error, that coaches will have a better idea of how their kicker's feeling, how their quarterback's feeling, what's the fatigue level of their offensive line. These things that we can't really measure on the sideline, on my couch very well. So anyways, overall disappointing performance. I don't know how to shake it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it changes my overall outlook yet. I'm not a small sample overreactor typically, but I will say, like, the NFC West is going to be competitive. And if the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West, they've created an uphill battle, right? The 49ers are favored by many people. I still don't understand why. But everybody but the Seahawks won in the NFC West. And they're officially in last place. That's a bad place to be, obviously. So now do the expectations become 10-7? By my estimation, yes. Because for the rest of the games, I had them going 9-7. No. 9-6. 10-6? 10-6. Listen, this is why you certainly shouldn't be asking somebody like me to parse 0.2% win probability, okay? And we'll talk about the Mariners on another podcast. I'm going to try to start, maybe I'll try to start doing these as more topic specific. Get some fucking listeners. Could you tell a friend, for the love of God? Come see me do stand-up comedy. If you live in Yakima, I will be at the Outskirts Brewing Company on Friday. No. Yes. I'm at, which one am I at first? I think I'm at Outskirts on Thursday, Whistling Jack's in Natchez on Friday. Is that right? Let's find that out for sure. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of comedy in Natchez, Washington. So we have on September 12th, the Friday, Natchez. Thursday is at is at Outskirts Brewing. Come see me. Casey McLean Comedy everywhere. Watch my special. Do not check. Oh, one last thing, I guess, because I don't want to do weekly updates on how my predictions are going, but I do think that it is valid to check in on Geno Smith and valid to check in on DK Metcalf. They both had pretty good games. Geno probably had a more impressive game than DK. DK ends up catching 4 balls for a decent amount of yards. One of the catches was it was a very DK Metcalf catch where he initially bobbles the ball and it ends up back in his hands after bouncing off another player. Aaron Rodgers looked very good, so that bodes well for DK going forward. Who is the guy? He threw to someone else significantly more frequently, and that's kind of why I don't think that DK is going to be as productive as his talents would have you believe. Who was the guy that he threw to more? Oh, no. He threw to Calvin Austin. Not more. He threw a touchdown to him. Targeted him 6 times. Completed 4 passes. DK, 4 passes on 7 targets with the caveat of the one goofy one. It'll be interesting to see how that target share lasts throughout the season. And Aaron Rodgers is is a quarterback in the NFL that I don't think DK Metcalf can get in his face. And that's probably good for DK. It'll be interesting if that happens, how much his target share is affected. All right. Thank you all for listening. I'm going to get off of this. Casey McLean Comedy everywhere. Come see me do comedy. Bye.